Hello folks, welcome back to John's Astrophotography. That bright star looking thing on the left just above the house, that's Venus. And you'll see a faint star to the right of it, that is Capella. So that's the brightest star in Auriga. We got Capella right there. And so I'm gonna use this time I have to show you a couple different techniques to getting sharp focus. I got my Atlas Pro mount, my 8-inch reflector, my Attic 428 CCD camera, my filter wheel, and my Teleview paracord chroma corrector. And so let's take a look what I got here. So here is a test exposure of Capella, and it's hard to say if it's in sharp focus or not. I am having a little bit of some problems with my diffraction spikes. That's a separate issue, so don't worry about that right now. These branches aren't completely collinear. So what we're gonna do is use this trusty old Batinov mask, courtesy of my little brother, Jed. Got it for my birthday recently. Let's put that in and see what we got here. So I'm gonna put this on the end of the telescope. Just make sure it's nice and flush. And there you go. See those different slits at different angles? It's gonna create the classic Batinov stripe pattern, or Batinov diffraction pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick exposure here. Let's see what we got. Alright, there we go. So you have this main X here, this line, and this line is an X. And what we want is this one here to go straight through the center. And if you look carefully, you can see that it's not symmetric, it's not quite close. This line is closer to this branch of the X than this one. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna adjust focus, and you just pick a direction, move it the tiniest bit, and then take the exposure again. All right, so I've adjusted the focus. Now let's try it, let's take another exposure. All right, so that's the new result. I barely saw it move actually, but it's definitely better. We went the correct way. So what I'm gonna do is reset the focus again, keep going that same direction, just a little more. Let's see what we got. All right, so let's adjusted the focus, so let's take another exposure. Watch carefully. Oh. So I think that's looking better. We could even zoom in a bit here. So we're trying to get this middle line to perfectly bisect this X created from this branch here and this branch. Ignore all this other stuff here. So I went too far to the other side. See how now it's closer to this side instead of the right one? So what we got to do is back it off a little bit. So let me do that real quick. All right, so let's see what we got here. Run that exposure. All right, so it looks like it's a little bit too far to the left. We're looking pretty good. If we zoom out, that looks pretty sharp. So that would be about what I would call a perfect focus. My fingers are not able to really move it like fractions and fractions of a millimeter. So, I mean, I could try. Even with this 1:11 ratio fine focus knob. So let me try one more time. Let's see if we can move it. Which way do I want to go? If at all, I would move it to the right a little bit. Move just the tiniest bit. Okay, so now let us try this final setting. Hopefully this is going to be it. So watch the center line. Hey, that looks pretty good. Looks like it's a tiny bit to the right still, but if I were in a rush and it were like really cold out in the middle of the winter and you know, and I was ready to get to imaging, I would finish here. I would remove the Bahtinov mask. That's sometimes you forget that and you're like, what's going on? Why does my nebula look all crazy? And so you just gotta remember to take it off. All right, handy dandy, trusty Bahtinov mask. They cost only about, you know, 20 bucks or so, and they get the job done pretty well. We had a bit of back and forth, but you know, that's okay. That's okay. It only took about 5 minutes to do all that. All right, so now let's take a picture with the mask off and see what it looks like. So let's just get in close here. All right, that looks pretty good. That looks really good. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Let's take a look at some of these stars. Nice and round. Okay. No obvious fuzziness. No, it's hard to say, but I would say that this is pretty darn well focused. You know, those look pretty good. But now I'm going to show you another technique you could use. All right, so this one involves getting a Moonlight Focuser. I had it this whole time. I just didn't tell you because I want to show you the way I used to do it with the trusty Bahtinov mask. It works great. But let me show you what I got here. All right, this piece here with this serial cable going in, there's a motor here. Where can I show you better? Here we go. Hopefully you can read upside down. It's a Moonlight high resolution stepper motor with power slip clutch. So it's running a motor onto these. These are the knobs to adjust the focus, and I could even do it by hand. I could turn those and adjust focus. And then there's a mini controller down here. Now this thing right here, you turn to the left or right to adjust the strength, and then you press this button to go in and that one to go out, to move the draw tube up and that one down. If you want to install one, get on the phone with Ron up at Moonlight Focuser and Accessories. He'll hook it up. All right, so let's see how we would do this without the Bahtinov mask. Let's say we wanted to upgrade our system. Let's check this out. All right, so I've just defocused slightly in order to simulate what you might see when you first set up your gear and you haven't focused yet with the Bahtinov mask or anything. With this program, by the way, I'm using Nina, Nighttime Imaging and Astronomy, version 1.10 nightly, number 028. And you could tell that these are not very well focused stars. They're quite fuzzy. You could see my diffraction spike problems here. These are some really fuzzy stars. So what we want to do to correct that is go down here to this tab that says Autofocus. So this is what I've done before. So what it's going to do is take some exposures and it's going to move the focuser in 10 steps, and then it's going to populate a grouping of points until it puts a linear regression line through those points, and it's going to extrapolate it down until it has one of these horizontal branches, and then it's going to keep on moving in or out. Well, I guess this is moving in, 2740 down to 2730. That's moving in, and it's going to shoot past focus and keep going up till it thinks it has enough points over here for a regression linear fit with extrapolation. Now you can't see it, but below this plot region where these two lines intersect, it's somewhere like right here, is where it's going to pick the stepper motor position for sharp focus. And you can see I got 2732 earlier, and so I don't have to really demonstrate us. It takes a good 5 minutes. The ironic part is it takes about as long as I did a little while ago doing the focus routine with the Bahtinov mask. But I'd like to show you the before and after of how sharp of focus you can get with the Bahtinov mask versus with the stepper motor and the autofocus routine. So we can see here that 2732 is what it found as the perfect focus point. And so I'm going to move it to 2732 where it thinks it's perfect focus. All right, so it's done. Now we come over here. So here's the before. I'm gonna hit start exposure and watch what happens. Much better. That looks really sharp. Now I'll show you what we were doing with the Bahtinov mask. The value I settled on for what was as sharp as I can get it with the Bahtinov mask was 2745. And that was looking like this. Boom, there it is. So they look very similar, but I could tell a difference. Some of these really small stars, when you zoom in, they're just a little more sharp. See that? And that's from the focuser. These look real sharp. So I like it. You know, the autofocus routine, it's reliable. You can just say go and go inside and get your coffee or whatever and come back and it's done. I keep the Bahtinov mask on hand at all times. It's a really good piece of equipment. If my autofocuser isn't working, or like I'm having driver problems or whatever, you know what I mean? You got this old trusty Bahtinov mask. It's not going anywhere. Low tech sometimes is better in a way, you know. But certainly in the winter when it's real cold and my fingers are all brittle and numb, yeah, my focusing by hand with the Bahtinov mask is just pretty poor quality, and it takes a while. But anyway, I like it. There you go. Venus is already set below the house roof. You could barely see Capella. Oh, there it is. There she is. And then there's the moon. We got just about half a day past first quarter. All right, so it's kind of windy tonight. I don't know if I'm going to do any serious imaging. And we got these street lights going on. I don't have my light shield set up yet because I kind of can't, because the wind catches it and it can only handle like very light breezes. Otherwise it's going to start blowing over, even with weights on it. So I don't know. It sounds like I'm not going to be able to image tonight, but I definitely was trying to do an episode, talk about diffraction, and show the two different ways to get sharp focus, and just get out under the sky. You know, it's been so rainy and cloudy lately. Sometimes it's good to just get out, do a systems check, test your gear out, try a new technique or whatnot. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Just a quick little episode as we have this brief intermission from all the clouds and rain. And of course we got the moon coming up to full moon here soon in the next week or so. And then towards the end of May, I think it's the 22nd of May, it'll be new moon, and I'll be able to start doing some serious imaging if the weather cooperates. So yeah, if we were to bump down the exposure a little bit to try to get rid of some of these diffraction spikes, just so we could take a closer look at what Capella looks like. I have a friend who likes this star, and he calls it Capella from Idiocracy. Hold on, full screen. There we go. That's Capella. All right, Kevin, coming right at you. The brightest star in Auriga. Rock on. Wikipedia, as it happens, has a great page on diffraction. Diffraction, not to be confused with refraction. So here's a nice spherical or circular diffraction pattern. It talks about how it's created, the effect from a double slit in the simplest case, where you have wave interference destructively interfering here at a minimum, corresponding to a dark patch. The bright patches, or where you have a maximum, is due to constructive interference, where two waves or more have their crests line up and you get a wave amplification. You get constructive interference. You can see it in nature, even just like at the beach or looking through Steam. There's some drawings in here. A lot of great stuff. Here's the waveforms. And then here's the equation. D sine theta equals lambda for the minimum. And then d sine theta sub n equals n lambda, where n is an integer other than 0. A lot of cool stuff in here. And this is something that'll help us understand how Bahtinov masks work, like I was showing you last night. This is sort of an image of a Bahtinov mask that when you put in front of your telescope, you might get things that look like this, sort of how I was showing you last night. And we have the X, and then the central line, when it's off center, it's out of focus. Here it's too far to the right, here's too far to the left, and then this one it goes perfectly through the center, and that is where you have achieved focus. Here's an animation showing it goes through focus and then all the way far out of focus, and then it animates again. It shows you the sequence of events, and you get that X, boom, you go straight through and then off to the right. Pretty cool stuff.